Hey, good evening, everybody. Allow me to introduce to you Tyler Rickshaw. He's one of the atheists I met online. Yeah, how are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Sunday.
Yeah, Sundays for the godless, you know. This is when we plot and scheme and plan the downfall of religion. That's amazing, man. Yeah, I mean, like I said to you earlier, we're just going to do a quick meet and greet,
Okay.
introduce you to our members, and you can tell us about your channel and what your aim is. I really enjoyed that very first video that you did, where you just talked about, deconversion and coming out. I think there's so much value in just, those authentic interactions that people have, where people really tell their own story about how they left religion and what the final nail in the coffin was for them. So I don't know if you just want to give us a nutshell version of that for our members.
Well, I didn't grow up really super religious and nothing like that. Like the belief in God was just like the default for just the people around me. So I never had to really go to church as often, but the few times I went, it felt weird. I was like, this just felt weird, and I ended up getting pressured into getting baptized. So I got baptized, and like the moment after baptism, I was like, I don't feel anything after this. So I never went to church again after that. And then for years, I never went to church. I never really thought about religion, because it never intersected with my life until I met my wife, who parents were preachers and pastors and stuff like that. So I started going to church with her, and then that's like that was probably like maybe 10 years ago. And that was the first time I really ever just listened and heard exactly what was being said. Because I had this general idea, like, that's just, I didn't think negative about it or good about it. I said, oh, that's just what people do. So after just sitting in church after Sunday upon Sunday, it's on Sunday, and I guess because I never was properly indoctrinated. So what I was hearing, I was like, man, this stuff sounds crazy. Like, and then the whole one, I remember the day like it was nothing. Like they were doing the Jonah and the whale story, and I just turned to my wife and said, like, you really think he was in that whale? And I was just like it just don't click. And then I just came home from work one day and just realized I don't even believe any of this. I don't think I ever have. And I just want, like, usually religious-based people, they look for trauma reasons for people to fall out, and they use it as their reason to keep other people's in. But for people like me, it's nothing. It's no trauma around the church for me to push me out. It's literally, it just don't sound believable to me.
Yeah, I always hate it when you get these. What happened to you? Was someone mean to you in the church? Like, did someone say something bad to you? I'm like, no, man. What the fuck? It's
like, it just, I don't know. It's just a weird. I don't know. I guess when you're not indoctrinated from the jump, you just get to see it for what it is, and it's just like, for me, it's like, I just like, it just don't gel, because just watching people, I became a people watcher in the church, and I would just watch other people, and I would look and I say, these people are not even listening to, because I went to a Baptist church, and I noticed what they did was they get you in with the rituals of doing the same little routine things, and then they get the music going, and they get you all of your emotions all built up, and by the time the preacher comes out to preach the sermon, you're not even like mentally there anymore. You just caught up in the feeling, and you just not, and he just saying stuff. And I realized that every church sermon is all the same. It's never nothing different. They just reword or pull from a different verse, but it's literally the same message. And I'm like, y'all don't get this yet? If I wanted to be a Christian, I could be a good one, because it's easy. They say it's hard, but it's easy.
Right. Yeah, I always find it funny, like when you look at the history of how we as humans, did this. I mean, before religion, we were, getting together in drum circles around a fire and just going tribal and doing our thing, and it's very strange how this pernicious Christian religion infected everything, here in Africa, it's bad. We've got preachers that raise the dead.
I've seen the videos.
They don't fuck around. Yeah,
I've seen the videos, and I'm like, wow. One dude hit somebody with a chair or threw him into some chairs. One dude was like,
it's big business. It's big business here. The more popular they get, the more wealthy, the more lavish the lifestyle, and it just always strikes me as that's the very sad legacy of colonialism here in Africa. Is that sure, we've mostly gotten rid of, or trying to get rid of, all these colonial European influences, and there's a lot of movements in the African culture where people are trying to reclaim and get that identity, that African identity back. But there's just this one thing, that has it's like a leech. People went to go swim in the river and they picked up leeches and they just can't get all the leeches off of them. It's crazy.
Because it gives them an answer that they don't have. It gives them an answer to a question they don't have to spend their day worrying about, because it's not fun. Some days I get in that spiral like, oh, all this is just pointless. Then you just then it gets depressing. But then after a while you come back and like, okay, I'm gonna live for now because I don't need to worry about later. But they don't want to do that mental work of thinking about that. Hey, maybe an afterlife is not here for you. Enjoy what you are right now. But which is weird for me, for people who are so adamant about an afterlife. They sure do cling on to being here, because I remember this was a creepy. They used to sing this song in the church. It was called "Soon and Very Soon We Are Going to See the King." From my perspective, I told my wife, I said, like, they're singing about dying right now. This sounds like a death cult. But
death cult, indeed, yeah.
And then they'll say, thank God for waking you up this morning because he didn't have to. I said, like, I think the whole goal is not to be woken up this morning. But why are you thanking him? I mean, you don't want to be woken up. But it's just a weird lifestyle. But I think over there in Africa, I think y'all might got us beat. Y'all might got us beat. I've seen some things. I've seen some videos. Like, I think this one preacher was making this lady spit out this demon for giving head or something, and she was. I was like,
I'm telling you, we a while ago, I met this lady online called the African Humanist, and that's her thing. She finds these church services, the things that these people do. It's just out of this world, But I struggle to wrap my mind around it. Like I said to her at some stage that there has to be some, like African religious element, like pre-Christianity, that permeates this kind of culture, because they make this, it's like this weird mixture of Christianity and, these tribal elements that come, into the Christianity. Like us, we had this guy who, you put people like in this trance, and they just ran out and started eating grass like they were sheep or something. It is insane to watch, but that's, what you were saying about, like the music and the community, like there's a very strong, I think it's an evolutionary thing for us humans, like we seek that communal element, from our societies, and when we find it in something like a church that has a deeper meaning, that gives the perfect environment for somebody to exploit, because that's also in our nature, like we exploit. We're like parasites and viruses, evolutionary.
Like here,
so if there is a very strong parasite within the tribe, he's going to eat.
Oh yeah, like here in America is because the church, the black church was so wrapped in heavy with the civil rights movement here.
Right.
It's because it was like one of the few places where black people could meet. So they did things beyond just meeting for church. That was like a community center. And so it's hard to get away from that. And also we talked about like Martin Luther King, because he's so prominent here. And in his statement was, he said, he was so religious, it's hard to separate the two. So you can't separate it's hard for the people to understand that. Yeah, he was right on some things, but that part you don't have to follow that part because he said that. But
right.
It's
it's almost like it becomes an identity. People think of themselves, like I am Jack, I am a Christian. It's not like I am a human being, who happens to believe this. It becomes an internalized part of their identity, and that's why it's it's so harmful, because your identity influences your environment. So if you tend to shape your environment to fit your identity, and that's if you get a couple of people together with the same ideology, they're going to try and change the environment to suit them, and that's where I have a big problem with religion, because all the baggage that comes with religion from 2,000 years ago, the way they treat women, the way they treat other people that are not part of the group, and that's besides all the fantasy and everything that's obviously untrue about it. The magic man living in the sky that's watching everybody and keeping tabs on, keeping a nice and naughty list.
It's like the heavenly Santa Claus. It almost seems like a scapegoat for like you don't have to be necessarily accountable for who you are on the inside. Like it's like you want to run from the fact that nobody wants to like we're all kind of terrible, but we don't try to be terrible. We try to do things we do. Sometimes we do terrible things out of preservation of ourselves, but we don't really want to do it because that's just the nature of being a human, just like animals and things like that. But people can't deal with the fact that, hey, you're a trash person just like the rest of us. And so you got that's not me. That's not me. That's the devil, or which is a weird. Well,
there's a funny. The funny thing here is that humans are, by their very nature, like 98% of us are good, honest, hardworking people. There's definitely a few apples in the bunch that's rotten, but religion hijacked that. Morality. It hijacked the fact that we have an intrinsic morality it's built into us by evolution. Because if we didn't have morality, we wouldn't have survived. Like if we didn't care for the weak one in the tribe, they would have died. Like if we didn't care. And religion hijacks this and injects this supernatural effect.
And they play on the fact that you feel like trash, and they emphasize that you're trash. You're nothing. You're a garbage human being. You need this to be a better person. When you don't need to be a better person, because most people who talk to me assume I am a Christian based on, not saying I'm like some uber ultra good guy, but I'm just a generic person and people think I'm a good Christian. I say like, no, I'm not. I spent 10 years going to a church nobody knew.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. You where in the area where you live, is it like is it extremely religious like it is here with us? I mean, over here, I would say, like probably like 80-90% of the population are definitely like super religious,
They kind of fake here. Like they like what if you look on the ones you see on, if you look online, you see the real hardcore Christians online. That's not the typical person. The average person here is not. It's churches everywhere. Like down, like if I go down the street, like it's a church, two churches, but just a car width apart from each other, but with totally two different denominations, both under the Christian umbrella, right next to each other. Then across the street is another one, and a little bit down the road is another one. So that's churches everywhere. But these are just feel-good places. People aren't really as hardcore to you start going off into more of the isolated parts of America, like places that are like little small towns and not big. You may, but most people don't. But if you start talking against it, then they all of a sudden everybody's
this is what I call cultural religiosity. It is people grew up in a certain mind frame and they never bothered to think outside of that mind frame. If you ask somebody 6,000 years ago, mudman, rib woman, the talking snake in the garden, is that legit? Like 99% of people are going to say, nah, it's just a story, bro. It's just a story. It's allegorical language, and then you obviously have the 5% nutbags that says, the earth is only 6,000 years old and it's flat,
Do y'all have black Hebrew Israelites there?
No. It's not something.
Y'all don't have that over there? We have.
I've seen some of the stuff online. They just as crazy as these.
So what? Because what they did was they was brought up in the belief, and now they don't want to abandon the belief. So they're going to back and rework the belief to say, see, it's wrong. They're talking about the black people in the Beyonce, like this is a black person. They try to be like, yeah, black people been on this like since the beginning of the time. I'm like, you're just trying to make yourself comfortable believing this. But hey, I mean, I didn't even really went from really believing. I'm a non-spiritual. I don't have any beliefs and nothing outside of it. My thing is about the thing about when over here and everybody talking about Jesus is black and all this stuff like that. I'd be like, that doesn't like listen, that don't make it no better. Because I mean, like you know the history of over here, right? Then you think about the history of the world, you're like, so you mean to tell me he just sat there for that whole time? But
there's this a meme online, especially in the Facebook groups and the Facebook communities where I travel around. Like there's a lot of African Christians in here. It's and I always love to use this. I think it was a quote that Chris Rock said. He said, "If you're a black Christian, you have a real short memory." And, and then I want to say to myself, like, how does it's like 2 or 3 generations, okay, maybe a bit longer in some countries, where people have been freed from the bondage of slavery first of all, and then this religion was part of the reason why people actually they justified that whole selling of people and everything, using the Bible in the one hand and the whip in the other one, and it's I'm aghast at how quickly people forget this. It's a gentle white Jesus on the cloud is coming to save Africa, and in the meantime, Africa does fuck all to help itself. Like it's waiting for white Jesus to come on the clouds and help Africa.
I don't know. I don't see how it could. For me, I said like I don't understand how, because it's for me from my American looking over. When I see something about Africa, when I see it, it's like, man, I don't feel like Christianity got nothing to do with this. Like, it don't feel like it belongs. It don't feel like it belongs there because it seems like that whole continent and all its countries has its own rich history that they're just kind of adding Christianity onto the top of it. Now, it's not to say that whatever anybody's spiritual belief is true, but you only on this Christianity because they are pushing it hardcore. But luckily for the internet, I think the internet is going to be the beginning of at least I don't see it going away anytime soon, but this is definitely, I always say this is the first time I know in history where atheists have been able to collectively gather and share thoughts and ideas and not feel alone. Because if you was atheist prior to the internet, who was you going to talk to?
Yeah, exactly. The internet has been the death of a whole lot of institutions. You know, for example, religion. First of all, you know, people are now seeing like, hey, wait a minute. It's not only this one religion that's out there. There's hundreds of crazy whack job religions out there. You look at things like Scientology, you know, Mormonism. I mean,
for me, Scientology and Mormonism is like one of the prime examples of like why it's like because when you talk to a Christian, they'd be like, "There's no way they could make all this up," and people would believe this. And I said, "Look at Mormons and look at Scientology." Especially Scientology. We know the creator of Scientology was a science fiction writer. They know this, and they still have millions of members. John, the Mormonism of I think it was Joseph Smith was a known liar and trickster
and con man. Yeah. I mean, he was a con man. I mean, you know. Look at it from an objective point of view. Like Jesus landed, you know, or some golden plates was found upstate Missouri or somewhere, and Jesus traveled to the Americas. Like, I mean,
the thing about Mormonism, I never even, because I grew up in a small town, so I never even heard of that until I said, I'm like, what? Do people believe that? Like, you believe that? I mean, like, we live in a time, but I think unfortunately, it's our human nature makes us believe these things. Because if you look at the movie The Matrix, it's slowly becoming like this real thing that people reference, like pull out the Matrix and all that. Because like I said, because prior to that movie being made, nobody ever talked about unplugging out of a reality. Now we all know that we just kind of, the people who know, but I imagine if it wasn't for like the internet, say something come wipe us out and all is left, they find one fragmented Matrix movie. I would guarantee you.
It's funny, that movie has got so many parallels, you know, with you know, how religion infects people and keeps people plugged into a machine that they feed with their own energy, you know.
And they be the ones talking about step out the Matrix the most.
Exactly.
You are in the Matrix, but the average, but from what I see, the average person, everyday believer here, if they really don't think much about it, they just believe it, and they don't even. They just go on with their day. It's one of those things. You just check the box for the day. I believe, went to church, yada. Said my prayers and things like that. And then, but you do have those overzealous people that hang outside of stores and try to sell you a cross or repent and all those things like this. And I say, like, you never see atheists doing that. It's not, nobody's trying to.
We've got people that use public transport, you know. So if there's a train, there's a preacher in every carriage, you know, like running around with a Bible. I'm going to drop one of our members in here as well who's joined. This is Raymond.
Okay.
Raymond.
Oh, it's working. I'm so sorry. I don't know why there's like crap. Hello, Tyler. Hello.
You.
Lekker,
I'm
man.
so
Yeah.
sorry. I haven't done
No,
this
you're
for so
good.
long, and I think there's some like sticky crap all over the camera, and yeah, it's just dirt.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
There's
So.
some
Yeah, we were just talking about this whole concept of being unplugged from religion and getting free from religion. I found it so liberating, just because it's like carrying extra baggage. Like if I had to put it in an analogy, it's like everybody goes through life and you've got to carry your luggage, but religion is like this extra, like 50-kilogram weight that's been put into your into your luggage. It makes life difficult in the sense that there's so many restrictions and clauses that it puts on your life, just to try and keep you in check. And I understand where it comes from. Like people were running wild, like 3,000 years ago. People were running wild. And the guys in charge said to themselves, "Fuck, we have to find some way to keep these." Keep these motherfuckers in check, because otherwise they're gonna burn the whole city down. So, one wise person said, like, "Yeah, hello, there's a magic man in the sky who is watching you. He's watching you, and he doesn't like the gays, and he doesn't like you fucking around, and
he's obsessed. He's obsessed with
really
your sex life." For some
exactly
reason.
Obsessed, completely obsessed with purity and morality. Like I said, it comes from that need to control people, because people will run wild. Like if they don't have some form of society. We've evolved beyond religion, I think. Like we've got a society in place, with laws, with structure. Like there's no need for that archaic way of controlling and keeping people in check anymore. So I think yeah.
I was just going to say, as you started all that, I thought you were talking about us as individuals and people at the individual level when they were religious, because I wouldn't know about the baggage stuff and letting go from an individual level, because I've never been religious. I'm an all-life atheist. So I've never had the baggage to start off with. I learned about it at a very young age and everything. I saw what it was doing to people and that control and everything. But on the bigger anthropological scale and in the history and everything, I think those people didn't understand what morality was, and then they are using the religious authority per se to bolster their already internal prejudices, if it's homosexuality or whatever the case is. And because of not understanding morality, and they think morality has to be some externally given thing from a deity, they are speaking not necessarily from themselves, but from the deity thing. And yes, now a lot of that has fallen away. People have learned what morality is and everything, but all that stuff is still happening to smaller degrees and everything in more fundamentalist, extreme fundamentalist areas. Tyler would know. Are you in America, Tyler?
Yes, I'm in America.
Yeah, you know that the Texas belts with the religious belt there in Texas. And
I'm right. I'm currently in the Bible belt, is what they call it.
Sorry, Bible belt.
I'm so sorry for you. My condolences.
It's
yeah. That's what but down to the individual level as well, I discovered what I saw when I was young, already at like 8, 9 years old and everything. I saw how, and when I was at school and stuff like that, and when I never even knew the atheist word existed. I just called myself a non-believer. And you're right. At that level, the other kids would immediately be like, "Oh, but what about this and that?" And the wrong and right of this and that and everything. And I couldn't figure out why they were speaking.
Yeah.
I used to ask, but surely don't you know that already? Why are you speaking about it from your religion or your God?
Yeah.
Surely you can figure that out on your own.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to ancient times, it became part of I think, when kings and queens were using the religion, when the religion started getting politicized, especially monotheism, the
Yeah.
advent of Christianity, and yeah, for sure.
And the
It's
money.
surprising, yeah. It's surprising how people are not able to. They think their feelings and their prejudices are vilified even more if they're speaking from the support of their God character as
Yeah.
opposed to speaking from themselves. I also think they feel they have more of a right to voice their prejudice. And,
Right.
Because
they think it's more. They think it's more valid if they're speaking with the God as opposed to I can't just
Yeah.
speak of it from myself because maybe it's not that strong. If I speak from it from myself, I'll use it as my God and my little shoulder as part of to bolster and make my prejudices more powerful and valid.
Yeah.
I think because they feel entitled to they feel like they're entitled to this entire
Oh yes,
galaxy. like
Yeah.
all of
yeah,
this is mine.
Yeah.
All this
that's
is
the
for
right
me.
word. That's the
like,
right word. Entitlement. That's the right
Yeah.
word.
it's like it's
Yeah,
not like
we God's favorite people,
yeah.
like the guys over there. God doesn't like them, So
Yeah,
let's go get them.
Yeah, because the whole because people the idea of prayer doesn't even it falls apart upon itself because every prayer that somebody prays for, you're praying against somebody else not getting the
Yeah.
thing you pray for. Like if two people, like if a group of people, if people applying for a job, and you're praying to get this job, you're praying that they don't get it. And they're over there praying that they get the job too. Then when you don't get the job, then they say,
yeah,
"Well, it wasn't meant for you. God has different plans." So what? I'm supposed to starve? when he gonna give me? When he
yeah.
gonna give it to me? So it's like it don't make any sense to like prayer just doesn't work in my. It doesn't seem like it should.
Yeah,
It doesn't even work.
Yeah.
I've
But
offered a bit of a logic problem.
well, what I wanted to say is, like I'm always fascinated by cradle atheists, like people who've never had that much exposure to religion growing up, because it's only recently that I heard about this concept called religious trauma syndrome, like where, it's terrifying to children, to teach them religion, because you're teaching them that they're not good enough, that they are doomed, they're going to burn in hell forever, and children grow up with these ideas. It forms their psyche. And I was fascinated to learn about this a while ago, and like that's what I'm saying. It's like whenever I see someone who's a cradle atheist who's never never known that whole indoctrination, it's fascinating. The people are usually
So that's what I can
they're
call
very
myself now. I like that. Cradle atheist. I like that.
yeah,
Oh,
no, fuck, I'm going to therapy. I'm still trying to get my shit sorted out,
Speaking of like, I
And
sat in church one. I sat in church one time, and they made a kid come sit up front, and it's like altar call. You go up there, you either ask for prayer or you whatever, or you confess that you want to be baptized and whatnot. And this kid's up here. He's no older than probably 8. He's up there bawling his eyes out because he feels like he's a bad person. And I'm like, what? I said, it looked just so disgusting because I'm like, this kid probably didn't do anything really that a young kid doesn't make a mistake on. But they got him up there crying and feeling like a terrible person. And I was like, it was so disgusting to watch.
Yeah.
There's even the cases of people who are religious, and as you say, from childhood they've been indoctrinated into the whole thing and everything, and then they maybe later in life as they're adults they probably become atheists and everything, and that psychological indoctrination and fear is so bad that even though they don't believe in a God anymore, when they think of the hell thing, they still feel a bit of fear.
Yeah.
But they don't believe anymore. They obviously don't believe in the hell thing or the heaven either. But that indoctrination and that instilling of the fear was so bad, they still feel a little bit about it, or maybe a part of their mind still thinks about it for when they die and everything. And it just can't go because it's ingrained into the mind so heavily from their childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a carrot and a stick. It's you got to keep the donkey moving. The heaven is the carrot and hell is the stick.
We'll all be there chilling in hell. And it seems like there'll be some cool people in hell if I go.
I always tell Christians, like, don't you want to be in heaven? I say to them, like, are you going to be in heaven? Yes. Don't you want to be there? And I'm going like, nah, thanks. I'm good.
Oh.
I can't spend 5 minutes with you. What makes you think that I can spend like an eternity?
The concept of heaven doesn't work. The heaven concept doesn't work because, like for example, my grandma died, right?
Right.
I don't die to say 40 years from now. She don't know me in between those 40 years. So she's gonna go. She's gonna go. Who that? I've only known her for like a few moments in her life, and she got other things going on that people that want to see her again. Like, why would? And in my game, like, why would you want to see anybody? I don't want to see anybody else after this. Like I have no desire for anything extra. I'm just do this, and that just be it.
What's interesting is you may talk about that, Tyler, to a believer and everything, and then if you bring that up, and the believer will say, no, it's fine. You will still know your mom, your grandmom, or your whichever family members. But then you have to ask them, how do you know that? How are you able to know that? They're obviously trying to help and console you, and they're also trying to convince you into the belief, and they want to paint a pretty picture for you. But then you've got to immediately ask, how do you know that? And then if you carry on sort of chatting to them and debating them, you'll eventually bring it down, and you'll discover that they are just speaking from their own subjective concepts. While they're trying to speak for their God concept and their heaven concept. What they're really doing is trying to like, no, you'll be fine. You'll know them. You're going to immediately, everyone will know each other. But then again, you have to ask them, how do you know that?
Well, here's the question though: is like, if you say, okay, well, you get to heaven, right? The person I am, the reason people know me from all the flaws that I have, rather than the flaws according to religion aren't Christ-like flaws. So if I go to heaven and you get rid of all that, then I'm not the same person anymore. And then the point is, like, if I got to spend all this time down here trying to pretend to be perfect to get to a place where they're just going to make me perfect, then what's the point of even doing this down here if I get up there and become a whole new person and don't remember anything?
Yeah. And if you don't remember anything, then that includes, or it follows that you won't remember your family members. Right. So their concepts are very self-refuting.
I said, I just know one thing. I don't want to be in heaven like as, a 40 or 50-year-old me. Like I want to go as like 15-year-old me. Because if I'm going to be, in this old body for eternity, I'm going to be pissed.
I want to go before my hair loss.
Yeah.
Don't put me over the table there. I'll just spend the rest of eternity with thin inherited top.
Yeah, I don't want this gray goatee anymore.
Gray goatee look cool though.
But I just love, have you guys ever seen these Jehovah's Witness pamphlets and paintings that they do, first moments in heaven, and it's just like this 100% white family, not a single black person in sight, with little lambs running in the meadow, and
nobody's been to heaven. How are you gonna make a picture? How you gonna make a picture of a place you've never been? You don't even. It just.
What's interesting as well I mean, the concept and idea, I find it, it's really interesting how Christianity likes to lay claim on this heaven concept when the idea and concept has been around since before Christianity even existed, If you go back 10, 15,000 years, 20,000 years to more ancient primitive man burial concepts and their soul conscious energy thing going up into the stars. The whole idea is based on fear of not existing anymore. That's just literally it. And then a couple of thousand years later, you've got monotheistic concepts, and they've got their heaven thing. I find it really interesting, the fear concepts, and then making up of these things, because man is just really uncomfortable with not existing anymore.
I think we as humans, we are constitutionally uncomfortable with uncertainty. And it comes from the savannah. If there's a rustling in the bushes and you don't know if it's a predator, you're fucked and you don't survive. So the people who survived were the people who were always superstitious and who needed to know everything. And that's followed us, we need to know. We feel very uncomfortable if there is something uncertain, and we don't know how the fuck everything began. People can throw guesses out there, but at the end of the day, nobody knows.
But we got the answers to the problems that people are concerned about. People have spent a lifetime praying for God to cure all these things, and then when man makes something to do it, like, no, don't do that. That's a mark of the beast. That's the devil. all these things, all the things that you would consider a miracle, like take Jehovah Witness for example. They don't accept blood transfusions. This is what you've been praying about. Why aren't you taking this blood transfusion? And it's just weird. Because once they realize, like, okay, that all that other stuff just doesn't make sense. So they gotta fight to hold on to it. And besides, and Jehovah's Witnesses say only 144 people are gonna go to. Only 144,000 people are gonna go to heaven.
Yeah. How do you get the exact number?
But it should be full now. It should be full.
Yeah.
There's a long line. I just know there's a very long line at the gates.
Yeah, you waiting outside, waiting to get in.
That's what I find really interesting about humans is we've got creativity and imagination, but if you mix that with fear, and then the angels and demons are made, and concepts for the afterlife, and in the ignorance, like you said about not knowing how it came about and where didn't know where the trees and the animals came from. So you've got ignorance, you've got fear, you've got the imagination, the creativity, and literally, it's what I say a lot in the groups, in the Facebook groups. Gods and religious concepts are a mascot for man's fears, needs, and ignorance, and tribalism. So the God thing is literally a mascot to represent all that human behavior.
Nobody's going to heaven. But it's but I think despite the craziness you may see online with all these religious people and stuff like this is just I feel like they are at the beginning. I don't know if we're gonna see it in any time in our lifetime soon, but I feel like this is the point where they're like, we all the things they could hid because of no internet, no social media, because this is the most we all been connected across the whole world, because the entire, like a conversation like this with amongst, where are you, Raymond?
Sorry?
Where you located?
Me and Dean are both in Cape Town in South Africa.
Oh yeah, both. Like, yeah, a conversation like this is if you ask me when I was a kid, I had no clue outside of that little bitty town what the rest of the world was doing. But now we're talking. This is magic compared to what they would call it. We're talking and connected, and now the whole world is starting to get like. I feel like the whole world is on the path to become this one type culture.
Yeah,
we're all starting to do the same things. If you look online, everybody everywhere is listening to the same things, watching the same music. Everybody's kind of getting in tune with each other, and that's what's going to be the crumble of religion, because they was able to benefit off the fact that nobody could see the rest of the world, and you can make these claims about this person and that person and that. But now that you can see that everybody's pretty much the same out here. Like, we all human. We all kind of do.
You know, the funny thing is for me, sorry, Raymond. The funny thing for me is one of the nails in the coffin for my religious belief was realizing that there are other religions out there. You know, like I grew up in such a little bubble. You know, like it was only Jesus and God in in a small little bubble. Nothing else existed. You know, so that's what I grew up with. But then as soon as I left my parents' house and I went to live on my own, I got exposed to, you know, all these weird religions and weird ideas. And at some point, you know, it was like, you know, this literal aha, parting of the skies moment. And it sounds so naive, you know, like when I look in retrospect, when I think about it, I was so naive, you know. It dawned on me that, hey, wait a minute. Not all of them can be right at the same time, but they can all be wrong at the same time. Yeah. You know, like ever since that moment, I've been skeptical of the whole thing. And it wasn't like a, you know, like a wham, bam, now you're an atheist type of moment. You know, like it was a long journey, you know, like it was something that was so embedded in me that it took a very long while to actually purge it out of my system, you know, and every time I got rid of some bit of baggage, then I realized, hey, wait a minute, there's something else in the pocket, you know, and it was this gradual process. But you know, the internet and the online communities that I found, because here in South Africa, especially atheists are very sparse, you know, like you'll run into one or two, if you're lucky, you know, like in your day-to-day life, you know, and people don't walk around like with, you know, like, you know, satanic temple T-shirts and and atheist tattoos, you know, all over them, you know. So it's not like you're going to be spotting them. You're probably walking past atheists in your daily life without knowing it, you know. So
because religious people
online communities. These online communities are very important in that sense. You know, it gives us a sense of belonging, and it gives us a platform, you know, to freely express our ideas and to meet with like-minded people.
Because atheists typically.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. Karen, Tyler, good, Tyler.
Atheists typically the people I've noticed that have been atheists they're typically not. They understand like because they understand that being atheist makes you in the minority. They understand you can't, because especially when all the, like a southern, like in this Bible Belt, if you want a job, you know what I mean, it's like it's best just not, you don't even, it's either just don't even say nothing about not being a believer, you just don't even say nothing about it. So you just let people assume that you believe as well, and you just go on about your day because they're everywhere. and I know here the idea of atheist was painted as atheist was always a demonic thing. like oh, you're some type of evil type creature and doing things like that. And it's like so it's hard to get, so when you say the word atheist to people who believe, they don't see you as a person who's rationally thinking about rationally came to a decision of non-belief, they look at you as the evil person who has no morality and just going to do evil things. So it's hard to they was able to paint that as this, but now we're getting to actually get to paint what it is now, and the more regular people just be regular people and just be like, oh, I'm an atheist, and the better it'll be.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. Sorry, go for it, Raymond.
I got a lot of that in the 80s when I was at school in my teens, and then when again I didn't know the atheist word existed, but just the fact that I didn't believe, and then they were like, "Oh, but the devil's got you, and the devil's poisoning or something," and then I would immediately ask, "But how do you know your devil thing exists?" But also what you were saying earlier, on the opposite scale, a lot of people who are atheists, and Dean, like you said as well, people are not really vocal about it, and we are around a lot of people who are atheists, people who are ambivalent about their belief and don't even say they're an atheist. There's also what I've discovered is there's a lot of people who call themselves Christians, but it's like a cultural title, and you're still hanging out at the bar with them, and they're fucking swearing, "Oh, fuck you," and let's have a drink, and we're gonna get drunk and everything. They're still having unmarital sex or something, maybe someone's smoking a joint and everything. They aren't really Christian. I've spoken to people, I know I'm pretty okay with the Bible, and I've spoken to, maybe a conversation will happen, and I'll say, yeah, but in this verse, it kind of says that, and because I'll kind of, in a sneaky way, I'll test the person, Maybe a topic will come up, some theological topic will come up, and then I'll say, yeah, but in Galatians it says this and that. And then they'll look at me totally blank. I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'll say, but have you read the Bible? Oh, no, not really. I didn't get a chance, But, I believe in Jesus and everything. And I said, well, do you know about the Sermon on the Mount? Do you know the weird stuff that Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount? No. Well, anyway, do you want to get another drink? And the subject quickly changes. But they're calling themselves a Christian. So it's a lot of times, a lot of people. It's a cultural.
Christians, they take the religion a la carte. They'll order from a menu. It's thank you, waiter. I'm ready to order. Can I have some gentle Jesus, meek and mild for starters? A main course of love thy neighbor, and follow that with do unto others for dessert. I don't have the stomach for genocide, killing people, the subjugation of women. I don't have the stomach for that today. Just give me those, the palatable bit of it.
You just gave me an idea for an animation now.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave me an idea for
it's literally like a cultural. It's literally like a cultural and a social title.
It's like,
while they aren't actually practicing Christians at all.
It's an identity.
I found myself more like sometimes I'll be like, I'm more knowledgeable about it. I'm not like an expert, but I find myself I'm more into it. I feel like they should be into it as much as I'm into it. Like, and I'm like as much as church sermons I read, as much as documents and stuff I read online. I'm like, you should be doing that yourself. I shouldn't be doing that. If I don't even believe it. I'm doing more research and studying than what you believe in.
I was real lazy, I was real lazy as a Christian. I always let other people read the book to me. I didn't like reading it myself. I only remember like the juicy bits,
I keep trying to read it, but I can't make it through it all the way. Every time I try to read it, it just sounds like gibberish.
Yeah.
But it don't even sound like gibberish. This is what it sounds like to me. When I read a little bit, when I started reading, it sounds like a book about man, not a book about a God.
Yeah.
A book about men who have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure it all out.
It's obviously man-made, I mean, if it was written by the creator of the universe, I'm not impressed.
But their scapegoat is inspired by. That's their scapegoat. They'll say it's inspired by him. They always say, well, it was inspired.
I'm still not impressed.
It's inspired by
if there was an all-powerful, omniscient being like that, it wouldn't need to convey itself through fallible humans onto a book in the first place.
It's a test, Raymond. God just wants to see you beg. He wants to see you beg and grovel, and he likes to play hide and go seek. So when whenever there's doubt in your mind, God is like stroking himself. Like stroking himself on the nipples. Whenever he sees you are in doubt, it really gets him all hot.
Where are all those miracles at now that we got cameras? Wait, they're gone.
Yeah.
There's no more that crazy stuff happening. Like he just said, I'm done. I saw this one video say he did come here and prove this. No, he should come back again if he exists.
Because when I was in my early teens, I actually had a very bad stutter, and a speech therapist person told my mom if you read a book to read it out aloud, that apparently lines your mouth up with your brain and it sorts the stuff out. And at my sister's place, because my sisters are actually my half sisters, so they had a bit of a different family set up at their home than I did with my mom at our home, and they had a Bible lying around. I didn't grow up with any religion at home with my mom on my own. And then that's how I got to read some of the Bible. I used to just flick through different parts, and I also, it seemed to me like it's a self-help book. There's everything in there to help the person with some personal problem. It seems to be one of the motives for what the Bible's or motive, a different word maybe, that what the function of the book is for. Again, people back then just didn't know how to deal with their problems. It's then indoctrinated into people that you have to read the Bible if you've got some personal stuff, and then in the process, the God will help you, etc., etc. Actually, that fixed my stutter because I was reading out Bible stuff aloud.
I've heard somebody call it like the goat herders or the camel farmer's guide to the galaxy. Because that's what it is. It's people. Archaic people trying to make sense of their environment, of their place in the universe. And, it's actually commendable that people got to a stage where they actually, got out of that cycle of just eating and, reproducing and farming and hunting and whatever, and actually said to themselves like, hey, wait a minute, there must be something going on here, So it's commendable, but because it's our first attempt, it's also our worst attempt.
I think
it's our worst attempt.
It's the first baby steps, I would say, into philosophy at that time ago. And we still can't credit 2,000 or 3,000 years ago Christianity, monotheism. We can still go further back to, exactly like you say, Dean, to ancient primitive man 10 to 20,000 years ago. The moment he was asking himself questions about where he came from and where everything around him came from, it was healthy, philosophically, intellectually healthy to ask those questions. But the moment he couldn't answer them, and in conjunction again with the imagination and creativity, then these concepts were invented. So it was cool, it was good, but now the idea has, now it's gotten out of hand now.
If you notice how people talk about it, when I'm watching, they're talking about it as if it just started. Like as if they're not the majority of it. I said, y'all talking like people don't know what Christianity is. Like it's a new religion. They know that everybody knows what it is. So I said, you're reading. So they're looking at it from the perspective. They're reading it from the perspective of when they were starting Christianity and trying to get other people involved in it. And now they haven't realized that that boat has sailed. Everybody knows about Christianity. There's not a person except for the only people that probably don't know, or what's that? It's that one island that you can't go to. The Sentinel Island.
Yeah, like that's the one in the Pacific where they
they killed that one guy who tried to come out there, and they told him not to do it, and he still went out there, and they killed him.
The missionary got shot with the arrow.
John Chow or something, or John Cho or something. I don't remember.
And that's what his that's what his religion got him. Doing that, but they're probably making him a martyr or something like that.
Yeah,
but
it spreads like a virus. Like that's the only thing. It's a virus is the only organism that spreads this way. It will go find a host and it will consume the host at its own expense, killing the host. Like in religion, it spreads in exactly the same way. Like it goes to infect everything. Like it's
well, it's childhood.
It's
childhood indoctrination.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's childhood indoctrination. We posit as well that, let's say, hypothetically, I know it's a little bit impossible and it's a much slower process, but let's say we could speed it up really quickly. If, say, you could stop childhood indoctrination on 1 or 2 generations, say 100 or 200 years of let's say, our generation of kids and then our grandkids, if you had to stop religious indoctrination, it'll disappear like that.
Yeah,
it's childhood indoctrination. It's the only way that it's survived.
It's funny that you say that, because there's also a school of thought that says people will invent religion.
We are.
If they're not given any kind of religion, they will invent it. There's a school of thought that says that as well. But I tend to lean more towards your if you don't teach the children, it's going to die out.
I think that would have been true had not the internet been around. But now the availability of knowledge is less likely that we would just make up something again. The only people that would make up something again would be the people who come from belief. Because that's usually what happens. Most people typically, they slide from one religion to spirituality or some other weird thing, because they still need that answer they can't get, but they realize, religion isn't it. They even do it inside of Christianity. Is more of a level of comfort. Like they'll I'm not comfortable with this part. Then they'll go on, take what they like from that part and start a whole new denomination. And then they'll just so on. So you got all these different Methodists, Baptists, Lutheran, all these different branches, because everybody just took what they felt comfortable enough and moved to the left. And they'll just keep doing it. Eventually, because now you have what they call progressive Christianity, which is a weird thing because they're adamant about how Noah's Ark is not real, Jonah, all that is just fake, just made up stuff. But they still hold on to the belief that a God came down, killed himself to himself for your sins. I said, how do you decide that that's not fiction either? But
yeah, because I don't know if like Dean was saying about the people who always created a religion. I don't know if it'll be religions per se. I think that people will always invent any kind of concept that helps them deal with, again, still existing after death, if you know what I mean. Even now, I've noticed with people in the groups and that there's a variation of stuff. A lot of these esoteric kind of, my consciousness is still going to live on afterwards, and I'm going to be part of the universe kind of thing. So I think
I can feel your aura. Your aura is very orange at the moment. Can you let me get my crystal to cleanse my aura? Maybe our energies can reach on an astral cosmic plane, and
but those are the people I see. I see people do that too, and those are the people. They typically came from. They just transferred how they believe Christianity and just put it into something else because it was more comfortable that way. And because I be looking at people like they be putting these, like for me, all I see is just like rocks. I don't see nothing. Like I don't. It's like I don't get what y'all saying. It's just elements that they're not doing anything because.
People are just they're swapping one crutch for another. You know, like it's like they're getting out of a wheelchair, or getting rid of the crutch and then getting into a wheelchair. You know, instead of taking up walking. It's very strange.
I think like
because I find that interesting. I think in future, like with Tyler, especially you're talking about the internet and everything and bringing people together. But then in conjunction with what Dean's saying about religions will always be formed, I really think now because of the net, fundamentalism and extreme religiosity will eventually die. But at the same time, in hundreds of years in the future, people are, what's that? Oh, yeah. People are still always going to invent different esoteric and spiritual concepts because humans will always have that fear of death and the fear of what's going to happen after death, you know, which I can respect and it's fine, but I'll always tell the people, or I hope that in the future, as long as it stays secular, as long as it stays private and everything, you know, as long as those people who have those concepts don't push it on anyone else and stuff like that. Yeah, I really think eventually, especially with what Tyler is saying, fundamentalism is, I think, busy dying a slow death as we speak.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's sad. Sometimes it's sad. It's sad sometimes. I don't know. I don't know if y'all get that. You've seen that. There's a preacher named Pastor Greg Locke. I don't know if y'all see him over there.
Yeah.
But I was watching one of his sermons and I was looking in his eyes. I'm like, he believes it. I'm like, yeah, he believes it. And it's like I said, oh, it's so sad. Like he believe it, and I'm like, but the problem is like my thing. I don't have a problem with you believing it, but just but you don't have this, but nobody else has to. Nobody has to. This world doesn't have to operate on this. I know here in America, everybody they think that America is God's country. God is only looking out for America. If y'all didn't know, if y'all didn't know,
God is just sitting there going like, yeah, fuck that shithole Africa. You know?
God's over.
I'm out here for my people.
God is sitting here with an American flag because it's God's America over here. He doesn't care about nowhere else. He doesn't care about nowhere else but America. I'm like, that's weird.
But people speak about, when they're speaking, the Americans, about whatever the God and stuff is doing for America, they keep saying for the, whatever political thing, they're like, oh, we this and that, and we, the God for us, whatever political thing, and I'm going, hang on, do you guys know that there's a rest of the planet? Are you able to be honest enough and say that what you're saying is only applying for your people? People in Iceland or Australia don't have the same political stuff as you. You can't supply what you're saying to the whole world.
What rest of this world are you talking about? We don't. It's only America. I don't know. I haven't heard of this. Where are y'all speaking from? Y'all somewhere in America speaking. Y'all tricking me. Y'all not.
It's funny. Earlier you mentioned about when there was this communist scare in America and everybody went like super Christian because the communist atheists are going to move in and take over our country. Like the funny thing is, here in Africa we actually have the Communist Party in our elections, and they're not even an issue. It's very strange, because again, you had the similar influence. I mean, surely down here, the Communist Party they're more like focused on the workers' rights and, creating an egalitarian society. They don't really have their religions set in their sights. Are you still there, Tyler? You're frozen up.
I'm here. I've got a long cable. Don't worry, I can still hear everyone perfectly.
Okay, good. No, as I was saying, it's just strange that that whole religious aspect in the United States. They just took communism as the enemy, and everybody just went super Christian in response. Whereas over here, people embraced communism as more like a solution to workers' rights, and like trying to get an egalitarian society going. But it's strange how these legacies, on the one side, the fear of atheism inspires this big Christian revolt where everything gets Christianized, and here in Africa, we're just Christian to begin with. It's like as soon as that first European set foot down here in Africa, Jesus came off the boat. And Jesus went with the settlers all the way through, and there's so much bloodshed in especially in our country in the name of that religion. Yeah. I think we've lost Tyler, but let's give him a minute or two just to reconnect.
Oh no. Yeah, it's hectic. The communism thing as well. The Christians like to and when they hear of atheists, they want to immediately bring up Stalin and all of that, and what happened in Russia, and this whole thing with relating atheism to communism is so dishonest, and the way it's spread around, and them using it as an argument is like. But then Michael Shermer and them have already addressed it, and there's already a whole fallacy named after it now.
Sorry, I'm listening with one ear. I'm just responding to Tyler in the chat here.
Okay, no problem. If you're having connection problems.
Yeah, I think he's got some connection issues on his side. I really wanted him to come and plug his channel, because we've been going for about just over an hour as well. So I think we should just also aim to wrap it up. Let's just give him a few more minutes. There we go. There we go.
Actually, I think
back for more. Yeah. I was just saying to Raymond as well. We've been going for an hour or so. So we were thinking of wrapping it up. And I just want you to plug your channel and plug the shit that you've got going at the moment. Just tell us where people can find you, what your channel's all about. What you're about, and we can push that out.
I'm mostly on TikTok on the Tyler Rickshaw. YouTube, Tyler Rickshaw. I have a little podcast called Talking Yip Yap. I kind of talk to different people about various things. My whole idea is like I'm an animator by trade, and and I make comedy from time to time, but also I just want to show because usually when you see atheists, it's usually this very deep intellectual talk, and that typically scares away people because they like, oh, these people are too smart for me to talk to. I'm not saying I'm that smart, but I feel like there's a need for people to see just regular atheists, if that's the best way. Just not as I'm like, because I kind of just talk regular. You wouldn't know if I was atheist, but I'll tell people that, but they just need to get used to seeing us just doing regular things and living a regular life, because we're just. I shouldn't have to label myself as an atheist, but fortunately I have to. Yeah. But they just need to see us being regular people. That's the whole reason why I do. That's the whole thing I'm doing with mine. It's just showing being an atheist is, we do regular stuff too. We're not just eating babies.
And
I've got good recipes. I've got some recipes for baby roast. Hit me up after the stream, and I'll send you my baby casserole and my baby roast.
And Tyler, have you heard of Mandisa Thomas?
Oh, I feel like I have.
She's been on Atheist Experience and Talk Heathen and all that, and she runs it's a black atheist community thing called the Black Americans.
Yeah.
Mandisa Thomas. She's really awesome. She seems to be doing a lot, and she's also very into plugging at the channels and everything.
Yeah, I think I plan on reaching out and trying to expand and getting involved with more atheists so people can stop thinking that this is like some weird way to live life.
But she really wants to focus on getting the black community more outspoken and the atheists in the black community and all that, in America.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Because it's like I'm like by being black and an atheist here in America, that makes me like 2 times the minority here.
Yeah,
because I'm a minority inside of the whole country in terms of if you base everything on skin color, I'll be a minority. Then once you get inside of what people will deem the black community, it's like, oh, good luck finding an atheist in there.
But this is why community is so important. It's like when you find yourself a minority within a minority, and then within that minority, there's other subclasses of social groupings. These online communities are very important for people. Because we social species. We tend to congregate. Be it around the water cooler or be it around the animal that we killed on the savannah. We all get together and we share. And that's it's important to have that sense of community. Yeah.
I can make it even worse. Just as a joke, I'm being sarcastic. But what about being a black gay atheist?
No, there's this. What is it? It's there is. You can come up with like these absurd permutations of like if you can say, for example. A lesbian, transgender, Muslim woman that lives in Arabia that wants to immigrate to China to be, you can come up with all these different permutations. There's so many different flavors and colors of people out there, and that is something to be celebrated. Diversity is something to be celebrated. And that is exactly what religion is against. They're against diversity. They want everybody to have the same belief, the same actions. Just seeing all weird and wonderful colored people and with all different flavors of belief, it scares them. It scares them, and they like you can see how they tap dancing. This is. To try and just keep the music going because they realize the song's going to end soon and the music's going to stop.
To leave y'all a little positive hope, a little positive hope. This is for me is that as I see, because I see us overall as humans in terms of what we do, and it's nothing really unique that we do based on our skin color. We kind of, like I played on the internet, you kind of starting to see that we all kind of have the same process, maybe a little variance based on where you live in terms of how you react to certain things, but we all kind of just all trying to figure it all out. And I think like it's a new, because we can't go, like, it's a fight to go backwards into a separate world where we all kind of stay with the same people that have the same skin color as you, the same region as you, but we cannot do that anymore because we're so connected that we're coming to the one thing that, especially here in America, they fear the one world. We're headed to that.
Oh, you've got them clutching at their pearl necklaces already when you say one world,
But it would make sense. But if you believe in a God, you would assume the ultimate goal would have the entire world.
It's only if the one world is a Christian one world, like a Jesus one world, then they're on board with it, But as soon as you start talking about we just, humanity, everybody has a place in the sun, then it's like Satan and the Illuminati is trying to control the world with with a cult, and where's my microchip, and call Aunt May because I want to make sure that she doesn't take a vaccine, and shit like that.
Yeah, with like the stupid thing we call racism. One way I like kind of dismantling it. This is a perfect example. Speaking to a Black American. A Black American is a first world person, Black person. But now you're speaking to a white African. You're speaking to two white Africans. We know the languages of your people, or you. We can speak Zulu and Xhosa, while Tyler does not know a single word of his ancestral genealogy language. So I'm third world white African, while Tyler is a first world Black person. It really breaks down the racism thing completely.
Yeah, it breaks down barriers.
We're changing
how stupid it is.
We're changing.
I can speak Zulu to Tyler, and Tyler will not know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
and I'm a white African, and he's a Black first world person.
But here in America, it will be an issue because you're white. You can't do the thing.
It'll be cultural appropriation.
It'll be cultural appropriation for you to do it. But I look at it like this. I tell people time, like, I was born in 86. I was born into a world where there was no such thing as segregation. Slavery didn't exist. Everything was like a multiracial world I grew up into. So so a lot of people I've noticed here tend to live in the generation before, not the generation they was born in. And I said I can't pretend like I know what civil rights feels like living in a segregated America. I don't know what that feels like. I said because it used to be a time in America if you was Black and you go into a town, you have to find other Black people so you can figure out where can you go in that town to eat, sleep, and do whatnot. I go anywhere. That was just reason I said I've never even thought about looking for the Black part of town so I can figure out where can I go. I just go wherever there's an open sign and I go on there. But sometimes it's hard for people, and it's just like religion. It's kind of baked in because religion got baked in with it, so it's hard to separate the two because a lot of Black people in America were raised by the generations closest to civil rights. Like me, I was raised by my grandmother. She was born in 1927. So it's hard for her to instill values in me outside of living in a segregated America. But I'm like, this is not a segregated America. You're teaching me tools that don't necessarily I need for now. I need to know how to live in it. I need to learn how to live in an integrated America, not a segregated one. But it's life. I don't want to hold you. I talk all day about that.
I like that comment that disappeared. I didn't catch the person's name. This is cool.
Yeah, this Polilang.
Yeah,
he would usually join us, but he said he doesn't.
We have to enjoy people's company.
Yeah, he said he's not going to be squeezed into a box with 4 people, so he'll probably try next time. But I think, guys, let's wrap it up there. And this was a great meet and greet. Thank you so much for your time, Tyler. I'm going to put links to your channel down in the description when I upload this, and keep in touch. If there's anything happening in your area or something that you passionate about, or if you interview somebody interesting, drop us a link, and we can also check it out.
I'm gonna look for your channels, Tyler, on YouTube.
Okay, I'll make me a Facebook account and get into the group. And get into the group and see. Can you email me the link to the Facebook group?
I'll do that. Yeah, okay. You can just search on Facebook for Atheist Republic Cape Town. You should find it.
Okay. All right. All right. Good chat, guys.
Cool. Peace out.
Awesome meeting you, Tyler.
All right, Raymond. Peace.
Awesome. Later. I'm loving it. That was awesome.